My number one is Brokeback Mountain from 2005. Another Ang Lee movie, which
Oh,
I did not plan it this way, but it just
double
happened to
hang.
be. I
Yeah,
know.
double hang.
Starring Jake Gyllenhaal, Heath Ledger, Michelle Williams, Anne Hathaway. Quick logline. Ennis and Jack are two shepherds who develop a sexual and emotional relationship. Their relationship becomes complicated when both of them get married to their respective girlfriends. Yeah, this movie to me kind of shows where I'm at with nature now for Inez, and then I guess for both of them and their relationship. Wyoming, which is where this movie takes place,
Hmm.
is sort of this place of serenity and calm and peace, and it means so much to them. And yes, it's enormous. It's probably even dangerous out there, but none of them are out there to actually tame it or challenge it or befriend it.
Hmm.
They're sort of peacefully accepting of the fact that we are just tiny specks in this area, and
Hmm.
that's how I take it, that we welcome the fact that this space has provided us the solitude and the safety to just be together, which may not be allowed anywhere else
Right.
for this relationship and for these two people. And the way I take that now is that, yeah, whenever I'm out amongst nature by myself or with people who I love, it's a chance to kind of almost give thanks to the fact that, oh, we are even here,
Hmm.
and it's inspiring, it's joyful, it's calming, it's centering, and you really feel that, like, for these two, this is where their relationship starts, but throughout the movie it's almost like they feel so awkward and weird in their quote unquote real lives.
Hmm.
And not just because they're not living their true selves and they're married to women and have children and what have you, but just even outside of that, like just putting this act of living the life of, like, a normal human,
Right.
just feels like an act, versus there's so much at ease and comfort with each other in this space that nature affords them. So that's how I take this movie. Of course there are many other layers to the movie, but
Hmm.
but yeah, curious if you'd seen it before or no.
Yeah, I've saw this when it came out. It's actually one of my favorite
Yeah.
movies, a masterwork, one of the best
Yeah.
movies of this century, easily. But for me, in terms of the outdoors, I think what it represents in this film, and it does to a lot of people, is a sense of freedom. That this is
Mm-hmm.
the place where you're escape the expectations or trappings of the human world, and you can go
Mm-hmm.
to a place where you don't have that anymore, and then you can get what you really want, whether that's something within yourself, or in this example, it's the love that was denied them by the human world because this was set in the 60s and 70s. So, you couldn't be an out gay man at that time. And there
Mm-hmm.
was a cautionary tale of an out gay rancher that gets murdered
Mm-hmm.
because he was gay that they talk about in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning of this film. So it's that freedom and that self discovery too. You get the
Yeah.
sense that especially Heath Ledger's character really, I think, didn't realize he had these gay feelings before. You get the sense that that experience sort of awakened that within him because he had
Yeah.
the that freedom to have that introspection and self discovery on their initial summer together, and that every time that is the only place that they feel they can be themselves. And
Exactly.
nature does avoid that, right? Or can give you that, right? That sense of a sense of freedom. And the other piece that I think this movie does so brilliantly is that's also a theme of the Western, is the
Yeah.
sense of you go out west because that's the free space. The gunslingers can do what they want. And Ang Lee, or I mean, that's based on a short story, so it's not just Lee,
Right.
but the brilliance of this story is they're taking all these tropes of the Western and adding in another layer of these people are can be free to be who they want to be, but only out west. And and the cowboys are the most free, but that's when they can be, with the person that they love.
Exactly. Um, but then the flip side of that, which I think is very interesting as the movie develops, is that how that can also become a crutch, where
Right.
Jake Gyllenhaal's character is always asking him that, we can make this work, if you
Mm-hmm.
really want to. It doesn't just have to be this, one time, once a summer sort of thing. We can actually go do something. But for Inez, Heath Ledger's character, like, this has kind of become what was freedom, like you put it, has now
Mm-hmm.
become a prison of
Right.
sort,
Right.
where
Right.
this is all I can do. This is the only place where I can accept myself and you to the fullest extent. Otherwise, I'm just going to go back. And yes, there's society to blame for that, but it's also you. You have to also
Totally.
take ownership, because there's somebody else out there who wants this more and is willing to kind of walk with you, and
Mhm.
and he doesn't treat him right, and their relationship goes kind of south. So yeah, it sort of explores that too, that how we as humans can kind of, become prisons to our own freedom, if you will.
Definitely. I mean, that's a tragedy part of this.
Yeah.
I think if you understand the apprehension that Heath Ledger's character has of like, wait, we're not again, he saw this rancher get murdered because he was gay and he was afraid to bring that it back into the quote unquote real world. But you want him to, and you're like, hey, like, why are you turning your back on the only love you're probably ever going to experience in your life?
Yeah.
He didn't have the courage, and I think that was also what drove Jake Gyllenhaal's character so frustrated in it,
Frustrated.
because he
Yeah.
kept being like, look, I will do this, we will do this together, let's do this, we'll go to Mexico, we'll build a cabin in Brokeback Mountain, we'll do all these things. He wanted to do that, and Heath Ledger's character was, to your point, I think, trapped by that feeling of freedom was only at Brokeback Mountain. It couldn't
Yeah.
be anywhere else, and he couldn't get over that throughout the course of the film, and that's the tragedy in the story.
Yeah. But that's also humanity, like
Yeah.
different people are different, and Jake is on a different level. He had those ingredients in him from the very beginning, because he's the one who makes a pass in the
Right. He does.
beginning.
He initiates. Yeah.
He initiates it.
Right.
So, he is working on a different plane in that sense. On the nature outdoor side, like, this movie just captures the serenity and calmness of nature and that safety so beautifully. Like, it's almost the opposite of everything that we've been talking about throughout this entire
Right.
podcast. Like,
Yeah.
you want to be there so bad. Like, it's
Mhm.
just so stunningly beautiful. It's not magical
Right.
realism. It's
Mhm.
very real, but
Oh,
it's
yeah.
it's enormous, majestic, but it's not surreal. Like, it's very real. And I think
Exactly.
there's a difference in how that's sort of captured from the sounds and what have you, and just the quietness, and the score is amazing.
One of my favorite scores of all time. It's
Amazing.
so
Like,
good.
I just a little, like, the first two notes of
Oh my
that,
God.
that's all
Yeah.
you need, or at least what
Mhm.
I need to kind of, go back to just being in Wyoming. I've always wanted to visit just because of this movie, and hopefully someday I will.
It's a beautiful place. Like, I've been
Yeah,
there, and
you've been?
it's stunning. But I think one of the things that really struck me in this viewing of it, which again, I was thinking a lot about these themes of outdoors more than I normally
Mm,
do when I see this film, because I've seen it a bunch of times. It's one of my favorite movies. Is that the shots that they're able to do by putting these just absolutely stunning backgrounds behind these two characters as they're arguing or fighting, like
mm,
the drama is elevated because the
yeah.
scenery like elevates the drama. Like, if they were just in their car arguing or in a room, you get the human emotion and maybe it'd be raw, but it like heightens this, not to the point of melodrama, but it adds like an
Mhm.
epic quality to their tale and their struggles and their emotions by having these stunning backgrounds of these mountains and the rivers and the forests. It just elevates the human condition by just placing it. It's not, like you said, it's not overly it's not magical realism. It's not dramatic. It's just, hey, this is just the nature. And I don't know who actually shot this movie, the DP, but the cinematographer did a great job of just letting the landmarks speak for themselves and then elevate these two performances, which I think are the best performances either of these
Oh,
actors have ever done. And I mean, the Heath Ledger stuff in this is just
it's
some of the best acting
unbelievable.
I've seen.
Yeah.
And I just really tragic that he obviously isn't with us anymore, and that,
Mhm.
he couldn't continue his career. But like, this performance is just unbelievable to me, and just
Yeah.
so powerful.
It's like chilling in the quietest way possible,
Oh
because
yeah.
just in his body language, on his face, with like barely any dialogue, the entire pain and suffering, little bit of specks of joy,
Mhm.
and that prison trapping that we were talking about earlier, it's all just there. And
Mhm.
the whole cast, actually, even Michelle Williams
Oh
is
yeah, and
just,
Anne Hathaway, they're both
Anne Hathaway as
fantastic.
well. Like, everybody's is absolutely incredible. So
Mhm.
yeah, I'm happy to be talking about this movie in this
Me
context.
too. I mean,
Yeah.
again, it's one of my favorite movies of all time, and there's so many different things that this movie tackles. Even there's, comments on toxic masculinity. I mean, there's
Hmm.
one of my favorite sequences when Heath Ledger's out at a barbecue for Fourth of July, and then these two sort of like typical toxic masculine guys saying these horrible things in front of his kids, and then he has to be there and protecting them. And this
Right.
incredible shot after he punches one of the guys to show like the rage that he has, and
Mhm.
asserting like the protectiveness of what it means to be a man. And that he's standing there in this wide shot, and these fireworks are going off and like framing him not in his like these feelings of rage, but also he's staying there as a cowboy with the cowboy hat on, and the other two guys were wearing sort of like baseball hats. And again, it goes back to touching on not only the themes of masculinity and his, this rage that he has because he's keeping all these secrets, but what the American male means in the context of a cowboy. It's just that one shot is just so brilliant.
Yeah, like I couldn't agree more. And that's his trapping too, like what how to be a man.
Right.
So yeah, it's society and everything, but it's also what you told yourself and how do you and you see Inez kind of bouncing off of that throughout the entire movie. Versus
Right.
I think Jake knows what being a man is.
Right. He's comfortable.
However,
at least.
he defines it. He's
Right,
comfortable.
he's comfortable with his own masculinity and what it means to him, and he clearly is not, and that's the struggle that he goes through the entire film. And I think at the end, you don't even get the sense that he even knows.
No,
it's not like his journey is not over. It's just I don't think he'll ever come to grips with the Brokeback Mountain experience, which is also sad about the ending too.
Yeah, but it's so heartbreaking to see like he has this shirt and everything at the end, and he's sort of lonely, but there's also some sort of inner peace about that. I think he's sort of accepted like what this is going to be, and the relationship with his child and everything is. Yeah, this is a movie that haunts you. It stays with you. Yeah.
Hey there, it's Alex. If you like the review and discussion Karan and I just had, make sure you subscribe to our channel, Movies That Shaped Us, to get full episodes. Every other Wednesday, Karan and I cover a topic around important people, places, events, and moments in our lives, and then explore it through 3 of our favorite movies. Subscribe right now, or follow our podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcasts via the link in the description below. Hope you join us for the journey.